Hello there, my name is Zoic, and I would like to welcome you to my first ever guide for the Rathma Necromancer. Now, this isn't going to be necessarily a build guide, it's going to be an informational guide to help you play as effective as you can from what I've learned so far playing the Necromancer. I played the Rathma Necromancer all through Season 11. I've enjoyed it very much, and I just want to put a little information out there to maybe help you all out. So, whether you're new to the game, you just picked up the expansion pack, you played it in Season 11, you're looking forward to it in Season 12, I certainly am, there may be a little bit of information here that can help you. So, let's take a look at the Rathma Necromancer. First things first, you're going to need to pick up the Rathma set. Basic knowledge, that's what you got. You put on the Rathma, you grab your Jessup set, and you've got the basics. I mean, you're ready to get started. Two other items that you're really going to need for this build, you're going to need the Crispin Sentence and the Circle of Naluja's Evolve. These two are pivotal to every Rathma set. Every Rathma build, you're going to have both of these. The thing you want to note is that this gives you 4 seconds maximum on your mages. So, whether your Crispin Sentence is better or your Circle is better, either one, put the other one in the queue to get the maximum effect. Now, you get 100% out of your cube for Crispin Sentence. You only get 4 seconds either way, so it's a toss-up of which ring is better for you. This build right here, I have used starting the season, and I've used through the season, and I've pushed all the way to 95, just, using this build. And I haven't used this build in a while, because I've used some other variations of this build, which we'll get into later, but it is very effective and it does a lot of damage. So let's go into how exactly that happens. So, what you want to do here is maximize your damage output, and that's really based on 3 things here. Your Simulacrum Mages for your Rathma set. You see here on the 6-piece set, 4 mages are going to give you the most damage. In 261, this goes up to 4,000%, so it's going to be even more powerful. Can't go wrong with that. You power these mages through Maximum Essence. Now, you notice here on the Jessup, I have Maximum Essence as the secondary. In 261, I'm not sure about the Jessup shield, but currently it cannot roll Maximum Essence. That's supposed to change. Necromancer shields are going to roll max essence, so that would boost this even further, even more damage coming into the next patch. So you got your Singularity Mages, you got your Maximum Essence, you got your Crispin Sentence. Your Crispin Sentence says it's going to give you a bonus damage effect with any other CC. So what happens here? Alright, you drop your mages. And how do you get this damage? Well, command skeletons, obviously. It's going to apply a freeze effect. You got bone spikes, applies a stun effect. Land of the Dead applies a stun effect. You see where we're going with this. To maximize this effect, you take your Templar, you give him the Thunder Fury and the Ryward combo, which lightning damage gives him a chance to stun. You give him the Justice Lantern or Freeze of Deflection combo. Blocking gives him a chance to stun. All of these things are basically set up to proc your Crispin Sentence. That's the whole point. Once you're pushing into harder rifts, with this build here in particular, you can switch out to a Unity if you prefer. However, 261, Dainty's Binding opens up to all curses, and that's huge because you can easily swap this, swap your belt into a Dainty's just for the extra 50% damage reduction. That is a huge effect. It may even open up more possibilities. I'm not sure. So there you go. Charisma Ascendance, you want to proc this stun as much as possible so that your mages get that bonus damage. Alright, how else can we get more damage? Alright, so let's look at it. Command Skeletons will give you 400% damage. So every time you use Command Skeletons on a target, my pet peeve is to immediately cast mages on them. By throwing mages directly on the target, it kind of ensures that they die faster, for one. Proccing your Jesseth set to send your skeletons off to the next target as fast as possible. The next thing is that when you use Command Skeletons, it's going to stun them. I mean, that's key to your damage, getting your stun out there. Now, they're fixing the bug with Command Skeletons in 2.6.1, so hopefully that's going to be out of the way and you're not going to have to worry about your mages just standing around doing no damage, basically, because the Command Skeleton effect is gone. So hopefully that's 100% out of the picture and we don't have to worry about that anymore. Another way that you want to maximize your damage is by using Reaper's Wraps. You craft these from the blacksmith. It is very important to get physical damage and your critical on here. You know, as close to 30% as you can get. As you can see, 30% is the max, so as close as you can get. You want to partner this, obviously, with Life from Death to spawn health globes. Now they're going to nerf this a bit in the next patch. It's not going to be a big deal. You're talking about 30% of your essence pool. Now whether you're you know, running the maximum you got now, or you've evolved your build onto other things later, picking up health globes and getting 30%, 100 essence, basically 103 essence per health globe, 3 health globes, you're dropped full powered simulacrum, or singularity mages. This is the best way to get a lot of mages out at one time, especially during Land of the Dead time. So you can see the gameplay footage going on here, and let's just kind of flip over to that for a second. I am by no means a professional player of this game, but you can see here, it's pretty easy to keep up mages. A lot of times I hear people have problems with essence. When you're running the Reaper's Wraps and the Life from Death combo, it's very effective at keeping up your essence pool as long as you're picking up, you know, the health globes to throw them out there. You can, you know, throw mages after mages. You're getting extra mages per cast thanks to Illusion's Evolve, and they're lasting, you know, longer, that you can overlap them. We're going to get a timer added into the next patch that's going to allow us to keep better track of that, our oldest mage, so that we'll know when we really need to recast. It's especially important if you're using other variations of this build, but it's still good to know for the regular Rathma play. Let's talk about some other things you can do here. Like I said, you're going to want a unity in your cube. If you want to go that route, you're always going to put Tasker and Theo in your cube. And let's talk about attack speed here, because this is pretty important when it comes to attack speed and singularity mages. You'll notice here that I'm running a very high attack speed build. I got 38% attack speed. This is effective and also ineffective for your mages. Now, with this build in particular, this version of Rathma, having attack speed is good. And the reason why is because the attack speed primary stat is going to basically inflate your sheet damage, this right here. It's going to push this up, and because your mage's damage is based on your sheet damage, it has some effect. However, you should note that this does not have an effect on their attack speed whatsoever. The only thing that affects a mage's attack speed is this right here, Tasker and Theo. So it's pretty well sold, solid, guaranteed. This is what you're going to go for. And it's just easier to put it in the queue, because if you're going to try to wear this, then you're going to throw Ring of Royal Grandeur into the mix. It means you're going to have to drop, you know, your Traveler's Pledge and Compass Rose. If you're pushing, the Traveler's set is excellent. It's just great damage reduction so you can run around, and if you're, you know, in a fight where you're having to use your bone spikes, it's going to give you that bonus damage. So let's kick back to attack speed here. So what's so great about attack speed? Well, it inflates your damage. What else does it do for you? It allows you to bone spike faster, obviously. You should know, though, that there is basically like a diminishing return period on the stun effect. So you can't constantly just overlap, right? So it seems to last between 2 and 3 seconds. Say if you were to command skeleton on a target, wait a couple seconds, then throw a bone spike on a target, then that's going to go ahead and restun that target. However, if you bone spike, bone spike, bone spike, bone spike, well, it's not going to have an effect. I mean, it's just gonna, you're going to hit them, they're going to stun, and then they're going to kind of laugh at you after that, because they can just ignore whatever you're doing. The other effect attack speed has as well is Devour. There are actually breakpoints in the Necromancer's, you know, setup like every other class. Devour breakpoints actually affect how many corpses you can consume per second. Obviously, you consume corpses, you get essence, you cast mages, you consume corpses, you get health globes, you grab health globes, you cast mages. I mean, it's damage on top of damage. It's basically how it rolls. The build itself, I mean, there's a few key components to this build. This is just the basic Rathma build, okay? You're not doing anything crazy. So the key components for this build all revolve around stunning for these maximum powered mages. The mages themselves are pretty good, you know, about being effective, but there are some mob types that will cause these mages to basically lose their minds, and you may be standing there wondering, what happened? What happened to my mages? Where are they at? These mob types can be like the little scavengers that go underground, you know, stuff that break the line of sight of these mages that they're focused on, and they'll just, you know, kind of wait, basically hang out, doing a whole lot of nothing, but get them focused, and their damage is excellent. And like I said, you can focus them by basically picking a target, you know, whatever your target is, and right clicking to cast them, or, you know, whatever you have your cast set to. You cast the mages on whatever target you moused over, and boom, extra damage. So how can we get even more than that? Alright, well, let's take a look. Physical damage. Now, physical damage you can get a couple different ways. For a Necromancer, there are 3 sources. You can get it from amulets, wrists, and shield/offhand. The easiest places here to get this would be on your necklace and on your wrist, because obviously you can roll that way, and you don't have to do anything extraneous. I mean, it's crafting the Reaper's Wraps and basically farming whichever necklace you go with to get, you know, physical damage. 40% is pretty well what you want and what you want to be at. As you can see here, my gear is not even perfect, so, you know, it's as much as you can get. The point is to have the modifier, right? Like Bane of the Trapped, you want the modifier. Crisbin Sentence, it's a modifier. Skeletal Mage damage is a modifier. You can have this at 45% max. With this build, though, you're only going to see it at a maximum of 30% ever. You can get that on your boots and your helmet. What I suggest is that if you are not above 50% critical strike, just go ahead and put critical strike on your helmet, you know, if you need the crit strike. If you don't, then go ahead and take the skeletal mage damage. It works excellent. It does a great job, and you know, you're going to plow things. And you got to understand, this is not a speed build. This is not a boss hunting build. Yeah, you can run around and, you know, work your way through mobs and get to bosses and do your thing. But this build right here is basically designed for you to mow the lawn. Every time you step into a rift, as you can see in the videos that's playing here, every time you step into a rift, you're just gonna fight. From the get-go, you're gonna fight every mob you run into. You can't really help it. Your skeletons are gonna do what they're gonna do, your mages are gonna do what they're gonna do, and you're trying to progress through the rift, so what you gonna do, right? So let's flip over again, just to maximize this gameplay footage here, just so you can take a little look of how this is operating. So, you know, you go into a fight, you find some mobs, you hit that command skeleton button. You basically want to lead with that because 400% damage bonus on your mages. I mean, right off the bat, that's what you want, maximum damage. After that, you know, if there's multiple mobs, throw out your bone spikes. Don't throw your bone spikes all on the same mob at one time. You know, just stand there and do this. You'll die. Don't do it. You basically want to bone spike through the mobs, you know, kind of like in a line, because your mages are going to start from the front. Whatever is closest to them, they're going to go for and just kind of start plowing through, right? Now this is relative to wherever they're standing, okay? So you cast mages every time your essence pool fills up. You want that essence pool filled up. Yeah, that's why you're wearing the Reaper's Wraps and picking up health globes, and you want that maximum damage. And Singularity mages are going to give you your maximum damage from the full pool of essence that you give them. So it's all on you just to hype them up. You're throwing out your stuns. You got your command skeletons is basically your front line. Anytime something gets too close to you, command skeletons. I mean, it gives you that stun. You can back up, throw your bone sparks, drop some more mages, get some health globes out there, drop some mages, get into a fight, Rift Guardian, whatever, you know, you can hit Land of the Dead and cast some mages. I mean, that's how the whole thing works. You're going to cast some mages. Alright, so this build I told you it could push. What I'm going to do here is I got a GR. I ran some just generic GRs for people to see here. It's nothing special, not at all. These are GR80s, I believe. Not a whole lot. You can see here that my damage went up a little bit. I swapped out some gloves, put in some more attack speed. Like I said, attack speed will inflate your sheet, which will, you know, give you more damage on these mages. I think that pretty well covers it for the basic Rathma build. This build right here is a heavy hitter. It pushes like a boss. I mean, you get to certain points, like I said, there's variations on this stuff you can do. You can go with the Zay Stone of Vengeance, you know, if you don't feel like you need this anymore, the Esoteric Alteration, or after the 2.61 change to Dainty's Binding, if you're running a curse, then you get 50% damage reduction. So maybe you want to swap out the Esoteric Alteration or the Molten Wildebeest Gizzard, you know, if you have a defensive gem, and go ahead and pick up the Zay Stone of Vengeance. I mean, it's extra stun. Personally, I mean, extra damage modifier is never bad. I mean, you're not going to get much out of the stun in this build, obviously, because everything you do besides cast mages stuns anyway. So, you know, it's kind of personal preference, whatever you'd like to do. Let's swap over here to this GR, and we'll swap over here to this GR and talk about this just a little bit, and then I'm going to go into the next variation of the Rathma build. Where can you go besides spamming command skeletons? How can you farm faster? I'm going to show you. So what you see here is you see my skeletons running all over the place. I mean, they're basically your defensive line, right? They're going to be the thing that separates, you know, these big mobs from jumping on you and give you time. Basically, they buy you time. They're also throwing out the stun. You want to command skeleton. Every time you see the gold border go off, you need to reapply it, basically, because you need that damage bonus. And like I said, they're stunning. They're proccing that Crisbin sentence. I mean, that's what you want. You know, blowing up all your mobs. This rift right here, it wasn't too bad. You see there's poison and stuff everywhere. My resists, if you notice, are pretty high. I do have some resist all on my gear. Let's talk about that for a second. So, a lot of people say, if you're using an intellect class, you don't need all resists on your gear. Honestly, I kind of like to be as tough as I can. I play a lot by myself. I fight everything. I don't do any rift fishing, you know. It's just mob after mob, whatever, you know, however the chips fall, that's how I fight it. So I do have all resists on my gear, you know. I have defenses on my gear. Essentially the only thing you should have to stack defensive wise would be physical resist, and that's because your intellect is going to passively stack your all resist. And let's talk about intellect just real quick before we take off here. I'm going to leave this playing here. We're going to switch back to the end game so you guys can see. So let's talk about intellect. Alright, so intellect is going to obviously increase your damages. Let me close this junk. It's going to increase your damage here, and you know, it's going to increase your all resist. Now you can see here that my resistances are pretty high. Part of this toughness is because of this esoteric alteration, right? It's a defensive gem, but my resistances are pretty high outside of that. I personally like to have mine about 85%, you know, all the way across the board. And, you know, any more than that is great, but, you know, I don't really keep a high health pool. I'm not stacking a whole lot of vitality. In fact, you know, I've rolled some off my gear. Essentially, you know, you don't want to have intellect or vitality on any piece of gear if you were the boss. But, you know, some pieces of gear you can't get away from, like helmets. You know, you're always going to have that sort of stuff on helmets, chests, legs, belts, boots. You know, it's just going to be there and you can't do anything about it. But after level 800 Paragon, you're indefinitely stacking intellect or vitality. That's the only things you can put points into, so it's up to you. For instance, I rolled the intellect, or I rolled the vitality off of this, where if you look at this circle, I rolled the intellect. Oh, no, wait, not this one. Haha. Anyway, my scythe. Ha. I rolled the intellect off the scythe. So the reason I did that is because, for one, you always want the most damage on your weapon, right? And I needed the stat. I mean, I can use Caldison's Despair. I have Paragon levels. I mean, I'm not worried about the intellect. I'll get the intellect back. Maybe not today, but, you know, I'll get it back. It's no big deal. Intellect is an excellent stat, but if you feel like you need the toughness, take it, because if you're dead, you're doing nothing. So what's it matter if you lose a little bit of damage to survive, right? It's just better that way. Let's go ahead now and transition over to the second build. I'm going to equip this thing right here. Alright, so now what you're looking at is the next step in the Rathma build. This is what happens when you you get to the point where you don't need command skeletons anymore. You're gonna play basically on your own. I'm going to change this video over, and this is going to be this build that I just switched to. This is going to be some passive play going on here. Now, what do you need to do this, right? How do we get here? Okay, well, obviously we're getting rid of command skeletons, so we're not going to use the Jessup set anymore. We're going to use main hand offhand combo, and we do that through the Scythe of the Cycle here. In 261, this damage is going up to 400%. That's going to put it on par with the Jessup set. Remember, the command skeletons gives 400% damage, so this is going to be right there with it. I mean, right now it's 100% less. Next week it's on par, so there you go. You're also going to pick you up an offhand. Now, what's very important on both of these things is that you have maximum essence. And notice I have more essence with this set, and that's because the shield did not roll max essence, so I'm missing some. Anyway, what you're going to go for here in this build, because you take away your skeletons, right? We're going to fill that with something. So we put in bone armor. I mean, you can use whatever you like, but this gives me an AoE stun, and because I don't have command skeletons, I am my own mid-range fighter. Okay, I'm proccing my own Crispin sentence, and I need to do that for my mages as much as possible. And because we don't have command skeletons, and because bone spikes won't continually stun, we need something else, and that's why I've supplemented with dislocation here to get that AoE stun for that Crispin's proc. So you'll notice in this build I have more cooldown reduction, and the reason for that is because I'm running Simulacrum now instead of an aura. You see here what Simulacrum does is for a period of time it's going to double your essence pool. Now, if you're going to use this, there's a couple things you need to know. Number one, you're going to want the Haunted Visions necklace. The double amount of time, 30 seconds, spawning Simulacrum mages is off the chain. It's just excellent. With 56% cooldown reduction, the time between Land of the Dead and Simulacrum wearing out, if you use them, you know, in a alternately, is so small. You're going to get to benefit from it. Just back and forth. It's amazing. So you got your Scythe of the Cycle. You got your offhand. They both got maximum essence, right? So you're going to push your essence pool up, you know, as high as you can get it. You grab your Haunted Visions. You're using your Simulacrum and your Land of the Dead. Alright, so you can make some choices here, right? You'll see I'm wearing the Requiem Serra plate, which means I have to run Ring of Royal Grandeur so that I can maintain my 6-piece. Okay? I'm wearing the Requiem Serra plate. What this does is, this is going to give me more essence per kill. I'm getting bonus essence from Devour. Well, the key thing here is you want to run that with Dark Reaving. Well, 3% life, 2% life, 100% bonus. So either way you look at it, you're getting, you know, fat amounts of essence, fat amounts of life. It's just coming in, it's coming in. You pair that with Reaper's Wraps, and you're going to grab health globes that are going to just boost that essence. During Simulacrum phases, being able to fill up that health pool is tremendous. It's going to allow you to just drop ungodly damage, and I don't know if you've ever seen hundreds of trillions of damage before, but this is the build that does that. Alright, so what are some other things you need to know? You notice here I've got physical damage, I've got skeletal mages, I've got cooldown reduction, and my attack speed has dropped, right? Now why is that? Well, like I said before, attack speed is going to inflate your character sheet damage, okay? Outside of Bone Spikes and Devour For a Rathma mage, it doesn't really do a whole lot. So what you're doing is you're basically starting to trade a balance of attack speed for cooldown reduction so that you can use these more heavy hitting abilities more often. If you look here in our cube, Relena Shadowhook, obviously, Tasker and Theo, obviously, and like I said, my Ring of Royal Grandeur. If I was not to use this, if I wanted to go put my regular chest piece back on, I would change this in a heartbeat to Convention of Elements. Or if you're going to push past 90 with this thing, maybe you want to throw a Unity in there, you know? Either way, you're always going to use Evol and Crispin Sentence. Like I said, it's two main crutches of this build. It's always going to be there, so get used to it. As far as offhands go, you can kind of pick which one you want. As far as the best one for this, is not really a best one for this, honestly. You can get the Ledger's Disdain, I believe, that has the movement speed for cold damage. You want to go with that, that's perfectly fine. It will, I don't know, maybe give you movement speed for Land of the Dead. It's nothing really. But let's flip over to the video here again and take a look at the gameplay footage. Alright, so what you're seeing here is me basically running around being the Crispin's proc for these mages. I took away my front line of skeletons and I became the defender. Like, I determine the push for my skeletons. They're just going to back me up. And sometimes they back me up so far, I'm standing by myself in a room wondering where the heck they are. You know, it happens that way. What are some variations on this build? Well, you can easily run Nemesis Bracers if you want to pop globes or pop shrines. The good thing about this build as compared to the last build is that if you run Nemesis Bracers with this build, you at least have a way to immediately defend yourself when you hit a shrine. Because this build lacks movement of Blood Rush, you can hit a shrine and you're basically stuck there. So be prepared. That stun is very important. To you, it's going to save your life. It's going to do the most damage, and it's all on you with this build. You are the front line, you are the defense, you set the speed. You're going to kill everything. It's another mow the lawn build. Like I said, it's not going to be speedy, but it's going to be reliable, and it's going to be efficient at what it does, because it's basically your Rathma build that you were just using, just putting the weight on your own shoulders. If you like to play this kind of play style, it's kind of a mid-range play style, in and out a little bit, you know, get your pop on your bone armor, slide out, try not to die. You know, stuff happens. So I'm gonna hit this video here and go to the Greater Rift. Just gonna see a little Greater Rift action here. Go in, you drop Land of the Dead. So many of these maps, I just feel that it's better if you just go in and drop Land of the Dead right off the bat. Reason for that, gives you 10 mages right off the bat. Whatever you may run into, you know, come and get it, you're ready. You're just ready right off the bat. As you can see, it, what is this, a GR80? It tears up, you know, bosses, it shreds them, trash mobs, no problem at all. Just be prepared to fight everything. This build is a very strong build, and it will get you far, farther than the other one. Maybe. I don't know, because Bone Armor has the 10-second cooldown as compared to the Command Skeletons, which is basically spammable as long as you have Essence, so it's kind of a toss-up. I have not pushed harder with that build over the Command Skeletons build. They've both been equal for me. So, you know, pick it up if you like the the look of the playstyle here and give it a shot, because you know it might be good for you. You might enjoy it. Alright, we're going to switch over here to the next style. This is going to be like the speedier style. If you want to know how fast I'm running these riffs in, it's 5 minutes and less. Like all of them are 5 minutes and less. It's too easy. It's really too easy. They do all the work. As long as you're proccing stuns, they do all the work. So let's swap back here. Let's see what's going on. So this is how you get your bounties and your regular riffs done really fast. What you're looking at here is a speed build for Rathma, and this has pushed CDR as far as you can go. You're dropping your Relenas for Ingeon, and the reason why you're doing this is because you want the cooldowns of these as low as possible. Also, I'm using 60% cooldown. I bumped up and got the last 4% over the last build, and this actually makes a difference. Just that 4%. The physical damage is here, very important. Skeleton mage damage is here, very important. You see my attack speed dropped a bit more. Not as important. Not as important at all. As far as your belt goes, if you're okay with the feel of the bone armor build, if you like how the flow between Simulacrum and Land of the Dead come across, then by all means swap the Vigilante belt. If you don't want the cooldown or don't need the cooldown, swap it out for Witching Hour, and you'll get another 200 and 300,000 damage. I mean, it's that big, but it's up to you. It just depends on what you want. Also, put on the Nemesis bracers. This is a speed build. You're going to be farming tier 13 rifts. You're going to be picking up Death's Breath. You're going to be, just basically zipping through the rifts as fast as possible. Sorry, I forgot to change the video here, but here you go. Here's some rift footage. So we've got Tasker and Theo again. Again, I'm running Ringerboro Grandeur because I'm using the Requiem Sarah Plate. It's very important. Always remember, if you're running the Requiem Sarah Plate, you need Dark Reaping, and you need to use Cannibalize. Those three things together have to go. If you change one of these, then you need to go ahead and just swap Dark Reaping off your bar for Life from Death, and go ahead and grab you some Reaper's Wraps, okay? Because you're going to need the sustain. The sustain is real. If you're starving for essence at any point in this build, then you're not doing damage. That's basically the way it goes. So, maximum CDR. We got our modifiers, Bane of the Trapped, our Pain Enhancer, or our Enforcer, our pet damage. All your basic stuff is still here. And like I said, the next patch, this is going to be 400%, so this build's going to be even more effective. So you're going to go in, you're going to jump on top with your mages. Maybe you threw Land of the Dead and you got 10. Maybe you threw Simulacrum, you got some up. I will tell you that without the Reaper's Wraps, filling up Simulacrum is not going to happen as often. It's a lot slower because you got double the essence pool. But if you do wear Reaper's Wraps, when you drop Simulacrum, getting 200 essence per globe as opposed to 100 essence per globe is awesome, because you can fill it up a lot faster, and that lets you have 10 Simulacrum mages running around with you, and like I said, hundreds of trillions of damage. Just phenomenal numbers. You may see some here in the video that's playing here on the little side here. It's there. It's got some punch. It's not gonna punch as hard unless you swap this out, get you some more attack speed in here just to inflate this a little bit. But other than that, I mean, you're gonna be speeding through rifts. You look at the playstyle here. Let's swap this over so you guys can see. Just, in the big picture. I mean, I know you guys can see it, but yeah. So you see the playstyle. You got your mages out, you dive, you pop them. With the Ingeon, it resets 10-second cooldowns, and Bone Armor, 10-second cooldown, 261 is getting even better. You'll be able to use it while moving. They're removing the essence cost from it, so it's not going to take away from your singularity mages. So you jump in after you've got an NG on proc. You jump in on top of a boss and you basically hit him with bone armor every 3 seconds. Just count to yourself. You jump in, you hit bone armor. 1, 2, 3, bone armor. 1, 2, 3, bone armor. You can also use that same rotation in the bone spike build. Bone armor, bone spike, bone armor, bone spike. You can alternate like that, giving yourself about 3 seconds in between, and you won't run into so much of that diminishing return problem. But after the Ingeon proc, you can just spam it and blood rush around. Your mages are so strong, especially tier 13 and bounty content, that you will just, you know, basically wipe them off the map and collect your death's breath as fast as possible. Now let's talk about greater rifting with this build. Can it be done? Of course it can be done. How effective is it? Well, let's take a look. So you'll notice here, for one thing, I lowered the greater rift level by 5 levels. This is because I never run this in greater rifts. I honestly don't know how well it could do. I mean, I understand it's a boss killing build, but on the opposite side of that, this build is very squishy. You jump into an elite pack, or you hit a shrine you don't get away from fast enough, and you are one shot. Basically, one shot. The alternative to this, if you wanted to greater rift push with this, I could say put on your Rathma chest piece and put Unity in the cube. I mean, you can, after that point, pick up Reaper's wraps, I guess. You can try and fill up that mana, essence pool to spam those mages as much as possible. It's going to be rough. I'm not sure, but I mean, if you get really good gear, I'm not there yet. I'm still working on it, but if you get really good gear, you know, maybe. We'll see. There's a whole lot of things that are random in this, but when it comes to Rathma, we're gonna bust it down to some really simple things for everyone to understand. Okay, attack speed. Attack speed's good. It inflates your damage. Outside of that, it does nothing. Nothing for your pets. Don't worry about your skeleton's attack speed. Your skeletons are moot. Your skeletons are for stun. You know, they protect you. You use them when you need them. Proc your Crispins. Alright, so it's good. Not so useful. You end up trading it off for cooldown if you want to, you know, go fast. Go for the Ingeon. I personally recommend it because if you don't go that way, I mean, just running bounties and tier 13 rifts is 100% miserable. Going slow. In order to go to do what you need to do, I mean, be on the lookout for Scythe of the Cycle. You can't roll that many sides out of your cube, so you know, it's pretty easy just to get them off Kadali. You're always looking for a better Scythe. Like, even mine, I can show you here, I'm missing 10% damage. I'd rather have attack speed than area damage, you know, but there's nothing I can do about it. This is just the best usable one that I have. I've been rolling scythes since the beginning of the season, and this is the best one I've got out of all of them. I've probably bounty rolled it, who knows how many times I bounty rolled one of these sides just to try and get something better, and it just hasn't happened for me. So maybe you get lucky. Maybe you get even more damage. I mean, if I had the 10% damage here and the attack speed here, who knows? It would bump my damage up to easily, you know, on par with the Skeletal Mage, I'm sure. Not Skeletal Mage, the Command Skeletons build. But like I said, you know, you want to get to this point. You don't necessarily need a Devouring Serra Plate to do this. You do need a usable offhand and a usable scythe, and it's very important that they have maximum essence, because once this doubles your essence pool, that 3% of 660, 3%, man, they pump out some damage, I'm telling you. You always want your physical, you always want your skeletal. CDR, you know, variable. Command skeletons build, you don't need it. Simulacrum in Land of the Dead, 56% is comfortable. You can do it before then, but without Reaper's Wraps and picking up globes and stuff like that, if you're not doing that, if you're going for the Sarah plate or stuff like that, you're going to have some trouble. You're going to be bone spiking a lot, and you know, it takes a really good bone spiker to survive a lot of situations without having the command skeletons around. I mean, like I said, you are your own Chrisman proc, and it's very important to proc Chrismans because, well, that's where your damage comes from. I mean, that's what you want. You want to stun so that your mages put out the extra damage. I know it may be a lot of rambling, but hopefully there's been some information here that can be useful to more people than myself. You'll notice here that I don't have any useless stats either down here, like sometimes you get command skeletons damage on your shoulders, or you end up with trying to think, resource cost reduction. Like, I don't have any of that in my gear. I made sure I got rid of all of it. So this was really a work in progress. It took a lot of effort, but as you see here, squishy. I told you, squishy. Let's kick over to the GR and see what's going on over there. Oops, wrong button. Anyway, here we go. So you see how this works. I jumped in right off the bat, hit Land of the Dead. I mean, let's get those 10 mages out and let's start plowing stuff. Now this build is a boss killer. Essentially, if you're outside of a Greater Rift, you know, or you're doing an easier Greater Rift like tier 13, 60s, 70s, you know, you can just teleport through the thing. Just go boss mob, pop, 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 grab your stuff and go. Get to the end, what it's all about. The faster you can get through the content, the more efficient it is for you to gear up. I mean, you're just gonna have stuff. You know, you're constantly getting your gem ups, you're constantly picking up items. You see, there's the squish effect. Don't get hit. It's very painful. So yeah, the Rathma Necromancer, it's got, you know, pretty much everything you want. If you want to push GRs, you got it. If you want to speed farm, you got it. If you want to level your friends, you got it. It's got everything you need. Speaking of playing with your friends, let's take a look back in game real quick at one more variation that you could possibly try here. So let's kick back. Welcome back into the game. Ta-da! Alright, what you see here, this is more like a group setup. Now there's various different variations on this, okay? There's different ways to do this. Some people keep Land of the Dead. Some people don't use a Siphon Blood or something. If you have a Z Necromancer in your group, you don't need to, you know, you can use Reaper's Wraps instead of Nemesis Bracers, because they're going to be spawning health globes for you, and you don't need to take Land of the Dead. That's where I was going with that. You don't need Land of the Dead because it's all going to be about casting Simulacrum Mages as much as possible. You want to get this cooldown low so you can cast more Simulacrum Mages and push with your friends, you know? That's what it's all about. So if you're by yourself, if you're the only Necromancer in your friends group, then take Land of the Dead and Simulacrum. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. Also, this is where your Zaystone of Vengeance can come into play. People find it that a lot of times you don't really need so much defense in a group, like, because there's lots of buffs going out, and you're not tanking because, you know, you're a Rathma mage, you die. So Zaystone of Vengeance, you go full damage basically. Just whatever damage you can put in your build, put it in there. You got Blood Rush, obviously, to reposition yourself. You're looking for Oculus Rings. You want that 85% extra damage on top of your damage, on top of all the damage and the damage. Siphon Blood is really good. You know, if you got a Z-Necro and you're running Reaper's Reps, because you're just gonna fuel more mages. A big radius to pull in. You don't have to take this if you don't want to. I mean, your friends are going to be picking up health globes and stuff anyway, so it's up to you. I mean, whatever you want to do. But this does damage the same way as, you know, the other Rathma builds. You'll notice I went for the 56%. That's pretty good, you know. You can go more. I wouldn't go less, because you want Simulacrum available as much as possible. You want to pump the most damage that you can. You notice Witching Hour attack speed. Basically, it's to pump up the sheet damage, because I'm already, you know, pretty close to as much cooldown as you can get. So, you know, there's no reason for me to really have to push it. This is not like a speed build. This is I'm gonna blow up your face, you know. So this version of Rathma is very easy to pick up. It's basically similar to the Bone Spike Rathma build. You're a mid-range. Obviously you want to drop back to get you know, damage from your Zaystone here, but you know, use the CC, proc the Crisbins, do some damage. That's basically what Rathma's all about. Throw some mages, proc that Crisbins, watch everything die at your feet, get your loot, go home. Just that easy. So let's kick back over to the video here. I'm just gonna let's see. Yeah, no, I don't like this video. Anyway, so if there's any questions you guys have, you can put it down in the comment section below, and I'll answer it as best I can. Most other things that I haven't mentioned is probably general knowledge for the game itself. You know, it takes a lot of just playing and experience to learn maps, which maps you can farm for bosses in Death's Breath, which maps to farm for materials for crafting, you know, which maps are going to give you density, which maps, you know, are going to be slow. But unless you're using the speed build, you're basically going to just mow the lawn all day. That's what Rathma Mages is about, is just start to finish, you're brute forcing your way through it. I hope you guys have enjoyed this guide for Rathma. It's been a lot of fun playing this season. I've really enjoyed the Necromancer as opposed to some other classes, and I think I'm going to play it again next season. Heck, who knows, right? It's a lot of fun. It's worth playing. So anyway, I want to thank you all for checking out this video, and I hope you all learned something. Good luck out there in the world of Sanctuary, and give them hell.